Hey guys, tonight is Wednesday, July 30th, and I am going to do a hopefully quick podcast titled Things in Business Most People Will Never Tell You. Um, as always, I love to give you a little bit of inspiration on why I'm doing this. I was spent the day in a bit of a crappy mood because I felt like someone got over on me. And in my heart of hearts, I like to believe that people act in a certain way because they don't know any better. But, some people know better and they're just strange, weird, crazy sociopaths. It's definitely not disappointment, but more disgust. And so I decided, you know what? I am going to do this podcast in hopes that maybe someone doesn't do something to harm another person. So here we go. 4 points. I have number 5 marked as freestyle. So let's see if I have anything by the time I get to 5 because I don't have a note. The first thing I want to tell you is where deals really happen. I think that so many people have this, really large view of how deals and things sort of happen on a grand scale. And you see, major companies, and you see all these big, Beyonce and Pepsi and all these kind of things. And deals, big deals, even small deals, typically don't happen in meetings. I think some people think that they try to meet, they try to get together people, they want to do calls. And I always say that people do business with people, they don't do business with companies. So people do business with other beings versus the name of the company or the quote unquote brand. So that's why you'll notice that when somebody awesome leaves a company, and they go, let's just say they go to a competitor and everybody goes over there, it's because they were doing business with that person versus the brand. So that's why I have that. This is really all about relationships. And I know that I have a podcast, I think, on nurturing those relationships, how to get them started. If I don't, hit me on my Ask FM and I can do one, but I'm pretty sure that I've done it. I feel like I had a thought about this and I can't remember it, but if it hits me, I'll swing back on this one. So deals really happen with people, not necessarily companies. Number 2 is like, okay, how? How do I make these relationships to have these deals? And the bottom line is that you must be natural. I think that so many people have these preconceived notions of how CEOs act or VPs or whatever. And understand that, I was talking to we had a 12-year-old intern in our office today, and I was talking to her and my assistant and our other summer intern who recently graduated college, and I said to them that I think that people think that being an artist requires drawing or painting or recording music or singing, and being an artist is having doing things extraordinarily different than everyone else. So while you think that some of the things that you do are strange or weird or whatever, those are the things, that's your DNA, that's your fingerprint, that's your art. The way you connect with people is your art. The way you do things is your art. And the more you try to essentially paint like someone else, speak like someone else, write like someone else, act like someone else, you are diluting your art. We no longer have an original, and it's all about trusting that your art is just as beautiful as someone else's. Sometimes we think that other people's art is more beautiful than ours, and it's not. It's just that we are painting with so many different brushes that don't belong to us. So we are comparing our sort of diluted selves with an original. We're comparing a knockoff or a counterfeit with an original. So you can't do that. You need to be an original before you even consider to put yourself up against another original. And another thing that you should do is start slow. I think that people, let's just say you follow me on Instagram, or I get people that tell me all the time, you know what, I really want to meet you. I want to sit down and have lunch with you and this and that. And because I consider myself like your friend, your teacher, your mentor, sometimes I'm pretty stern and tough. And I'm like, if we don't have a relationship or we don't know each other or I don't have a reason to if there's no exchange and it's just me doing something with you, my recommendation would be, and I'm saying this not just to me, but if there's somebody you want to meet, start slow. Maybe it's just the first time you comment on someone's photo. The next time you engage them slowly. Maybe you then ask a question. you have to build up to relationships. I think so many of us get so quick. We want to get to, you know, number 10 without going through steps 1 and 9. And it's like you work your way up to strong relationships. My relationships didn't all start out strong. Maybe, I used to have trusted friends introduce me. Like I would say, if there was somebody I really wanted to meet, I would say, if I knew that one of my really good friends had a really good relationship, I would say, would you mind introducing me to, Marie? And I don't want Marie's phone number. I don't want her email address. I don't want anything. I just want a trusted source to say, hey, Marie, this is my friend Myleik. If we're out somewhere in the same situation, this is my friend Myleik. Just wanted to make sure you guys knew each other. This is what she does. This and this and that. Hope, you guys connect. Start there. If you have a trusted source introduce you, that's a great place to start. If you have to introduce yourself, and trust me, I've done it hundreds of times. If I know somebody, has a large profile and they're approached all the time, I'm probably not going to try to pitch them the first time I meet them, with what trying to sell my Avon, okay? I'm typically like, hi, my name is Myleik, and I'm a really large fan of what you're doing. I saw the work that you recently did with XYZ, and I just want to tell you, I thought it was really phenomenal. I love the way so-and-so commented on that, and let people know that you know what they've been doing, and you're not just trying to connect with them for your benefit initially. I mean, listen, if we all have to be, this is business and life, and everybody, if you can't, I think in Kanye's little book that he has, it's like, if you can't be used, then you're useless, So we all understand that at some point everybody's being used, but nobody wants to feel used early. Number 3, which is kind of why I really wanted to do this, because of how I feel about, a situation that I experienced today. Number 3 is integrity. I think that we can argue about the fast nickel or the slow dime. And while some people, I know that people like to make the fast nickel, I'm definitely a slow dime girl. I'm a slow dime because I'm not interested in making something small quickly when I know that having a good relationship with you and doing the right thing with you, doing the right thing even if no one will ever find out. So, some days I travel and, the girls that work for me, they can come in whenever they want to, essentially, because how will I know? I mean, sometimes if I call the office, I can call and to see if they're there, but I always talk to them about always do the right thing, whether you think someone's going to find out or not, because that speaks to your integrity, and that's going to help you over the long run in business. There are going to be so many times that you hit challenges, or someone offers to essentially buy your soul, and you have to decide: do I want my soul purchased for $5, or do I want longer, a slower burn? And I've had people question whether or not, oh, if you do business with this person or that person or this company or that company, does that make you a sellout? And I think that this is a slightly off topic, but I will speak to my integrity, is that I do things that feel right, and I want to work with lots of different brands doing it my way. So if I'm doing something with a brand that is maybe unfamiliar, or it's, we just did a deal with Walmart, which is the number one retailer, I think, in the world. And I mean, if I'm a business person, which I think you guys have figured out I am, like, I consider this a sport. I love what I'm doing, and I love essentially getting companies to work with us and recognize us and notice us. I want to do things, and I like to do them my way, and I think that, that's kind of what it comes down to, is having integrity in what you're doing. That I want to do something, but it has to be from the heart, and it has to feel good. And so I just want to say this in light of the way I feel today, that, doing the right thing, being a good person, always being honest, as honest as you possibly can be, even if you think it's going to hurt the person or they may be uncomfortable with it. Always, always, always be a person of integrity, because you want people to have respect for you over everything. And I think that I've had some situations where, I mean, if you follow me and you listen to my podcast, you know that a couple years ago I got a DUI, and so of course that happened, and then I had a situation when I finally went to court for the DUI. I had to go back to jail because the judge wanted me to do 20 hours. So you think that's 2 times? So I've had people write on my page about that, and I've had some indiscretions in the beginning when I really didn't know how to handle my emotions, and I still do big business because I think at the end of the day, people really respect me because I essentially do what I say I'm going to do. Everything that I promise someone that I'm going to do, I do. And if I don't, it's one thing to say I'm unhappy with what you did, but you can never say I didn't do it. And that's something that I think you should understand too, is that you're going to have times when you promise something, you said you're going to do something, and the person doesn't like it or the people don't like it. But that's different than, it's one thing to not like something, and it's another thing to not do it. Huge, huge, huge difference. Number 4, which I think is a really cool one, and I've talked about it before, and this is kind of a shift in gears, is that you, and mostly you, I would say only you, but mostly you are responsible for promoting you. So many people are so ashamed to promote themselves on Instagram and tell people what they're doing. And it's like, I'm not saying that, every day you need to be like, just did this, just did this, just did that. But how do we know? How can we keep up with your accomplishments if you don't always let us know? And it's not, I think some people, it's like, oh, well, what if I'm bragging or I don't want to do this? But I mean, okay, how else am I going to find out? And let's be honest, I want to be on a team with someone who's constantly scoring points, versus somebody who's shooting and not scoring. And so don't be afraid to tell people what you're doing. And if you did something awesome, share it with us. Share it with people. Don't be so afraid to do it. And so I know a lot of people don't share because they're so concerned about what people think. I've said this 150 times. Most people don't really care. And that's the thing that I love so much about social media, is that it allows us to connect with people. You might be following somebody because you thought they were a really good business person. It turns out, that they also paint fantastic pictures, or they crochet and you pick up a pattern from them. Or, I think that we are such diverse human beings, and what our social media is showing is that we are multifaceted. We can do more than one thing. We have exceptional skills and talents that don't just fit in one place. And so share with people the things that you can do, because I don't think you realize how opportunities get to people. They only get to people when they speak. And it's so crazy. I always tell people, let the world know what you're doing. If you're looking for a job, don't be ashamed to say that you don't have one. We can't help you find a job if you don't tell us. So if you're looking, tell people you're looking. Plant the seeds with people. Sometimes, I will plant a seed if I'm looking for something, so I recently planted the seed that I'm thinking about moving. I think I'm going to, I'm renting now, but I think I'm going to buy a house. And so this is something that I'm pretty sure that I want to do. And so I just mentioned it. I've been mentioning it a couple times. And so, people are like, hey, I'm a realtor. So people start sending you listings. People start sending you discounts, deals, and stuff like that because you planted the seed, versus being like, oh, I'm too ashamed to tell people I'm renting, or I want people to think this or that or whatever. Just start planting the seeds. If you want to start dating, then you need to start letting people know, hey, I'm looking. So if you know anybody that's single, let me tell you something, there's nothing desperate about that. There is nothing desperate about saying, I am single, and if you happen to know someone that you think that will work for me or that I'd be attracted to, don't hesitate to connect me. I'm so serious about that. I swear, you have to do that. Number 5 I have is a freestyle, and I really don't. I don't really think I have a thought about that, but maybe I'll just say this. I think that things that people typically won't tell you is that, people are. I had someone say this to me, and I don't know if I shared it to you. When I was in the beginning, when I used to work by myself and I was starting to hire people, and I hire people, and I just wasn't really sure how I felt. And so the guy was like, let's look at it like this. If you hired somebody, let's just say I sat at the bar with one of your employees talking for an hour or two. At the end of the conversation, if they told me they work for you, would you be proud? And I think that that's really important, is that when you're out and you're talking to people in your regular life, would your employer be proud to say that you work with them? Or if you're an entrepreneur or you're considering hiring people, I think that's a really great sort of measuring stick. Is that what you call it? Measuring stick, maybe? Like a way to measure if this person would work for you or not. And so that's kind of how I look at it, is that I don't care how good they are, I don't care this or that. It's like, if I know that if you sat with someone, a stranger, in a couple hours, the kind of impression that you would leave on that person is the kind of impression that I would want them to have about my company. So that was a bonus. Didn't really have anything to do with anything. But I hope you enjoyed this. And if you have any questions, I am on AskFM, ask.fm backslash Myleik Till, my whole name. And I typically answer almost all questions except for the ones that are just too egregious, like a little too personal, a little too come on now. I mean, I always say ask me anything, but if I feel like it's really out of bounds, I won't. But if it is fine, I typically answer it within a week or two or three. So hope that helps you. Talk to you soon. Bye, guys.